The Bills go back to Arrowhead. Talked about it on Thursday's show. What that game was in the playoffs last year, what that show was that those two quarterbacks put on. And not the same crazy sort of finish, not all of the points that we might have expected, but I would argue that those guys put on the sort of show that I wanted to see from both of them.
It was almost like a dunk contest where it's like one guy made a throw and it's like, ooh, and then the other guy made a throw and you're like, whoa, like that's how it felt. Like when we break down these games before we do the show, and I watched every snap of that game, but then rewatched it again, like the replay, and it was taking me forever to get through it because I wanted to clip so many plays. Like I
felt the exact same way.
It was taking me forever because I was like, oh my God, look at this. Oh, that's cool. But also not only just these two juggernauts and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes going at it, but it was some really cool kind of like schematic twists. And that's what happens. Those old Patriots Colts games used to be awesome between Belichick and Manning. And I just say Manning because that's what those Colts teams were. But just between Belichick and Manning, and like just because they were always they always finished first in the division. So they were playing each other every year. It didn't matter how the rotation of the schedule. But watching those like just little tweaks every game that they would do against each other, that's how this is starting to feel. And we're going to dive into it, I'm sure. But there was a couple, especially from the Bills on offense and defense, where it's like, oh, that's interesting. They're already throwing these changeups in. And we got a little bit of that hectic action at the end of last year's game. But this year we got it in the first half. So it was almost like perfect that the regular season, we just got in the first half. We got like 120 something yards of offense in like a minute. So we got kind of like just like a half little like defibrillator on our heart, not the full juice up action today.
There were a couple stretches, like 2 to 3 play stretches in this game that you watch these two guys and you just realize that they're on a different planet.
Yep.
And with Allen, it was near the end of the game for me. He hit a hole shot up the left sideline. Excuse me, this is the drive before, but he hit a hole shot up the left sideline and Dawson Knox at one point. That was insane. But at the end of the game, there's a 3-play stretch. I think it was 4 plays where he has the run. But it was the throw to Diggs, excuse me. It was like a little post corner stop to Diggs where he fires like a missile shot like 30 yards into the air with Diggs sitting in zone coverage in between 3 guys. The next play is the play where he hurdles the guy along the right sideline where it's a designed run. Then there's 1 yard for like 1 run for like 1 yard, and then he throws the touchdown to Dawson Knox.
Which was insane.
It's just an insane throw. The ball placement on it is just absolutely ridiculous. So that's 3 plays. That's 3 plays over the course of a 4-play stretch where that happens. Yep. The drive where Mahomes finished it off with the touchdown to Hardman. If you watch Mahomes' pocket movement on the 2 plays preceding the touchdown to Hardman, he has a scramble for a first down, and then he somehow gets out of it and scrambles for like 2 yards to get them to the 3. And then the way he bounces in the pocket and moves up in the pocket to finish off that drive to Hardman. These are 3-play stretches, quarters, runs that no one else on the planet is capable of.
Yep.
And when you're watching these two teams, it's just apparent all the time that the places their offense can go are different than the places most of the other offenses in the league can go. And the stat I tweeted out during the game was these two teams are first and second in the NFL in conversion rate on 3rd and 8 or more this season. The Chiefs were at like 47%, which is totally unsustainable and absolutely ridiculous. But the Bills were second at like 39%. These guys also are bottom 5, bottom 7 in sack rate. They don't throw many interceptions. There are no negative plays. And when there are some negative plays, these are the 2 quarterbacks that can erase them in a single moment. You get to 1st and 20 if you're the Chiefs on that cheap PI, and it doesn't even matter. Nope. That happens all the time. And that's just my takeaway after I step back and really think about this game is that these 2 guys are on another planet right now. And that means these 2 teams are really a step above everybody else.
Absolutely. When we watch like even the Eagles tonight, like their 3rd and longs can be exhausting because they are always a 4-down team because their short yardage run game is so good. These guys, it's 3rd and long. They're going for 10 yards, 20 yards past the sticks. It's not to get to 4th and 2. Sometimes they are, but it's like, no, they're hunting for big plays always. And just that play both plays you brought up there. So the Mahomes went to Hardman. These guys break the rules so much. And that's why even against Mahomes going against this top tier Bills defense and whatever you feel about the Chiefs defense, they can give a lot of guys issues is they break those rules of the coverage. The touchdown to Hardman, it was a 4 strong concept. So 4 guys going to one side. Kelsey's lined up one-on-one. They ran like a little sluggo. So on those reads, those are taught on those 4 strong concepts like this, is if I have a one-on-one, I'm taking it. Usually you're going to take Kelsey in a one-on-one. Like that makes sense to me. It's not some no-name guy out there. So Mahomes, okay, all right, broke the rule already. I'm not going to take my one-on-one. I'm going to go to the 4-man side. The Bills pass it off beautifully. They cover that's so hard to do in the low red zone. Boom, boom, boom. Every guy's covered. All right, Mahomes just going to buy some time. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then he makes the throw. So that's a rule breaker right there. The Diggs one they brought up that Josh Allen hits. If you notice both sides of the ball, both of these guys a lot, they'll run kind of these sail concepts, but the guys are getting targeted in between the numbers and the hash. So it's not
they almost stop short of a whole shot, and like in between, because Kelsey also had one. Kelsey one against Milano was almost the exact same kind of idea after the pass interference.
Mahomes and Kelsey have gotten some really good chemistry on those that they've started trickling in more and more. Those guys can get away with it because they're so freaking good. Like that is such a hard throw. You're throwing a location throw against zone coverage. Most times you're playing zone coverage. It's like what I always say, that middle, high, lows. You're hitting right in front of you, not 20 yards to the field in between 3 guys. That's breaking rules. Like it's these defenses have gotten so good with how their corners sink and kind of mixing together the quarters with the cover 2 kind of rules in a little bit of ways. And they're breaking those rules. They're just saying, oh yeah, your guy wants to sink. Screw you. I'm going to hit right in front of him. There's a 20-yard gain. Good luck next time. And they do it just over and over and over. There's another one. The one I tweeted was Josh Allen hits a deep dig to Stefon Diggs. 27 yards flat-footed, he throws it. The ball never sinks. It just lines the whole way. And he hits him on this deep dig. When you throw a backside deep dig, the aiming point for the quarterback's the hash. And really, it's more like just in front of the hash. He completes this when Diggs is at the numbers. The Chiefs have a safety driving on this dig. That is his rule. He is driving on this dig to blow that exact throw up. And Josh Allen flat-footed throws this ball before the safety can even get there. Those are rule-breaking throws. And it's just insane. They do these throws 10 times a game. And on top of it, they can run for first downs. They're totally on a different level at what they can do. It's so much fun to watch.
I'm sure people are thinking about this. Like it was a 24-20 game. Like you guys were that enthralled by the quarterback play.
Yes.
There's a lateral fumble by Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah.
The Bills go for it on 4th down and don't get it. The Chiefs missed the field goal. Mahomes threw an interception in the end zone because these guys are going for broke in this game. They know what it's going to take to win this game, and there's no holding back in those moments. And that's how you end up with something like this while the teams are consistently moving the ball. So the Bills obviously win this game, which is huge for potential home field advantage stuff. Also, just after what happened last year, I think you need one of these every once in a while. Be like, all right, we can handle this team. Like we can go in there and we can beat this team. So we're talking about those schematic tweaks, quirks, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
What little things do you think the Bills solved today that you were impressed by in real time?
There's a couple, and I'm really excited. Really excited here. I got numbers and little schematic stuff. So one was the Bills used 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 7 times tonight. The entire weeks 1 through 5, they used it 5 times total. They used it 7 times tonight. And how they were using it was really cool. Just ace formation, dot formation, which is a balanced look with 2 tight ends each side, 2 receivers on each side. They had some runs out of it. They did a pin pull out of it. They also did a naked where freaking what's his name? Tommy Sweeney is getting that catch. I had to look up his number. I was like, who the hell's Tommy Sweeney? I'm sorry. I have to look you up. But okay, so they're running that. But what you notice is that makes the Chiefs get into base personnel. They had 3 linebackers just in a stack, old school 4-3 look. It was actually kind of funny to see. And they're also, when you're breaking down, when defenses break down offenses, they group 12 and 21 as the same kind of. They're like, okay, you're in pro personnel. And they were in pro personnel, the Bills were tonight, on 1/3 of their snaps, which is a season high. To put it in perspective, 2 weeks ago against the Ravens, they were in pro personnel on 3% of their snaps. So they just use this they used it on 24 snaps. They got 0.31 EPA out of those snaps. And that's just a cool little, hey, this is what we can get this defense to do. And the fact that they can rotate their offense, that was something that we were having issues with the Bills last year, was they were going too light. And now it's like, oh no, we can sprinkle on this balance looks. It's awesome. But also,
for context, 0.31 is about what Mahomes is leading the league with. So it's the most efficient passing offense in football with 0.31.
Yes. And they're doing it on every play, and that's including their runs too. There was 0.03.
The running game actually looked okay today. They were doing some interesting stuff. They had a really interesting run where they faked a pin pull and Morse reverse course back the other way. They ran a little like pitch out.
They did some line backs.
Gabe Davis got called for a hold, but it was beautiful. And like, so they're getting guys on the move. I did like a lot of the stuff they were doing in the run game, and obviously the run game has been struggling a lot this year.
I can also tell just that they watched the Bengals games against the Chiefs last year, because that Gabe Davis touchdown near the end of the half, which I'm going to be breaking down for Wind the Clock because of the protection on that. And the Bills in it did a 7-man protection, which is the running back and the tight end, and not full sliding it. And when you want to get in the 7-man protection, and actually the Bills caught the Chiefs offense out of this, when the Bills don't run this that much, they'll run it. Sometimes they sprinkle it in, but the Bengals started running this in the second half of last year, and they caught the same Chiefs, same location of the field on a 3rd down pressure. And this one was in 2 minutes, so we called it 3rd down. Blocked it up, and he threw a go ball for a touchdown. It was deja vu all over again. Like they blocked this up perfectly. Tight end got Reed, running back. I want to say it was Singletary on the play. Got the other DB that was blitzing. They got their guys, so they were able to wad it up, and he hit the go ball for a touchdown. It's gash or be gash, and when you have a backup corner in there, it's like, oof, that's a perfect type of game or type of play.
They did it twice.
And they
did. There was a pressure on the Diggs touchdown too. I mean, both of those times he started 0 for 7 against the blitz, and I believe he was 6 of his next 7 for about 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh my God, they shredded. And that's the thing. They said, okay, we're going to protect it up rather than throwing hot and get it out quick. They went with the other way. Let's block it up and hit you deep. And they hit him deep a few times. And we'll get into what the Bills defense did against the Chiefs offense. But that was a really impressive to me, was being able to change their point of attack and look of attack, the Bills offense, and getting the Chiefs in bad looks for them, less advantageous looks for them, and taking advantage of it. And they did it throughout the game. They adjusted throughout the game. And that's what the Bills coaching staff does all over and over and over.
Well, you mentioned they could have learned from what the Bengals did against the Chiefs last year. I assume they learned again what the Bengals defense did against the Chiefs in those games last year, because they were dropping 8 more in this game. They were doing some funky different coverages. It does seem like they were willing to play outside of themselves a little bit defensively as well.
A lot of man coverage, a lot of cover 2. They changed up everything they did. The Bills have been running more cover 2. Going into this week, it was about 20%, compared to 2 years ago, or last year, I should say, it was 5%. So it's huge uptick. Ton of cover 2, but they also brought some man pressures. They also just ran straight up cover 1. When they were dropping 8, the Bills defense dropped 8. They've only dropped 8, I think, 2% this entire year? Yeah, 2% of their snaps this entire year have they dropped 8. Tonight, they dropped down 1 out of 5 snaps, 21% of the snaps against the Chiefs. And they ran cover 2 mostly behind it, but they also ran 1 robber out of it. They ran 2-man out of it, which is what the Bengals were doing last year. And they're just double teaming Kelsey, basically. So they were really mixing up. We say this sometimes going against these top tier quarterbacks. You have to throw the kitchen sink at them. It's suicide to blitz them a bunch and suicide to stay in the same coverage. So they said, screw it, we're going to run everything. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is they ran dime personnel a whole bunch of times. Those extra drop 8 looks, they were in a 3-2-6 personnel package, 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 DBs. And they did it on 2/3 of their third downs, or 7 out of 11 of their third downs today were in dime personnel, which is just something that's a new twist. They have only been in dime. They haven't been in dime this entire year. And they ran it multiple times tonight, which I thought was super interesting. And that last play, the last pick, was another example of the spy stuff working with Matt Milano, who's playing outstanding, where it gives Von Miller a 2-way go. He can rush however he wants. I can go inside because I know if Mahomes bails out, Milano's going to come around as my edge contain. You're basically just standing up the edge contain guy so he can go to either side. And now the DNs have 2-way goes. And so now if they want to provide chip help like the Chiefs were doing, now Von Miller can go inside and not have to worry about it because here comes the outside help. Really, it's just an awesome defensive game plan and offensive game plan from the Bills, and they executed so well against a really good Chiefs team.
And what was different between who the Bills are now and who they were in that game last year in the divisional round? Von Miller's a huge part of that. Yeah. And I mean, he finishes off 2 insanely important plays. That 3rd and 6 sack where the dip on that to get to the rip move against Wiley. Mahomes is a little bit deep and he's drifting a little bit. So that's not all on Wiley, but there's one particular defensive line drill where you watch where you're actually grabbing a towel off the ground as you run the hoop. And it's literally practicing getting as low as you can to the ground. You're touching the ground because you're trying to dip that shoulder so low. And that Von Miller is dipping his hand all the way to the ground there when he's going against Wiley. There's nothing you can do about that.
No.
Like the way his body bends is just impossible to deal with. And then the sack he had on the spin move, that sets up that final drive that they had before the half. If that sack doesn't happen, they might even get the ball back. Putting a button on this, I mean, I think my takeaway is that these guys are going to be there at the end. Like we're cruising toward, we're on a collision course for these two teams playing against each other when we get there to in the AFC Championship game. And hopefully by that point, no disrespect to him, but like Joshua Williams isn't playing. And we have these teams closer to full strength. Like the Chiefs lost this game, but it's the bounce of the ball 2 different ways. And I feel like with the way these are both set up right now, both of them, that's how it's going to feel every time they play against each other.
Yep. If they're going to be giving their best. Like we don't have to worry about these two teams going like, is this going to be a bad game from them? No, it's the elite teams throwing haymakers at each other. And it's awesome.
The last thing I want to say, every time I watch them play with each other, and every time I really sit down and watch the Bills offense, I thank God that Stefon Diggs got traded to the Bills. Not because just because they are such a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
Like them kind of pushing forward the best versions of their football selves together. Like there's a sliding doors moment where Stefon Diggs is just never a Bill. We never see what this is with them together. And I just love it. Like what they can do together is absolutely insane. They have this mind meld thing now where they're just making plays out of structure, where it's advantage throws in run looks where they know exactly what they're doing, the timing that they both have. I don't appreciate it enough. I am grateful that pairing now exists because of 3 or 4 different things falling into place.
The mind meld is such an important thing because how much they ad lib and the fact that they never look wonky. There's never one. It's like, oh, he missed him again. Watch the Packers sometimes and him like Aaron Rodgers now trying to throw all these kind of trick shots to guys. They're going all over the place because he has no rhythm with these guys, no chemistry. No, these two are they're insane because how much they ad lib. Diggs is able to slow down or speed up, and Josh Allen just makes these perfect throws. It's and really Mahomes and Kelsey kind of have that going on too. So
absolutely they do.
I totally agree that like I'm glad Diggs is there because as fun as some of these other players are for the Bills, it's always nice when you have that true number 1 alpha, even if he's not built like how we picture an alpha guy.
But neither of them are, right? Like Stefon Diggs isn't built like that. Travis Kelsey is a tight end, but that throw you were talking about where it's that kind of half hole shot that's actually a little bit further inside, the spacing and timing on that has to be perfect for it to work.
Perfect.
And these 2 pairings of guys, Mahomes to Kelsey and Allen to Diggs, hit that throw multiple times in this game. It's the type of thing that only happens when you're completely in sync with one another, and that's what these guys are.
So much danger on those throws.
Yes.
So much danger. Guy leaks from the inside. Guy leaks from the outside. You know, like a corner drops in. The hook defender comes in. The cover 2 safety can squeeze down on it. Like there's just so much danger, and they do it constantly every game. Like I've been... when I was with the Raiders, we were trying to go for one of these throws against the Dolphins at the time, 2017. And we were like, okay, we got to complete one of these. Like we were trying to get one of these types of throws just to move down on 3rd and extra long because of the coverage they played. And they do it constantly. They do it like once a drive. And those are such hard throws and they make it look so easy. And that's why we don't make a big deal of it usually.